Welcome to Courts 101. All three branches of government play a role in the delivery of justice. The legislative branch makes the laws, the executive branch enforces the laws, and the judicial branch handles cases when laws are broken. In the United States, there are two main court jurisdictions, federal and state. Crimes under laws enacted by the U.S. Congress and cases involving federal laws are tried in federal court. Bankruptcy is also handled in federal court. State courts handle violations of state criminal law, like murder, robbery, theft. They also handle family law cases, including divorce, personal injury or civil cases, housing cases, probate, and civil commitment cases for mentally ill individuals. Each U.S. state's constitution determines how its court system is set up. You might be wondering how Minnesota courts are structured. Most cases begin in one of Minnesota's district courts. Judges hear everything from traffic violations to murder to family conflicts. Each year, there are about 2 million cases filed in Minnesota district courts. Minnesota spends almost $300 million each year on its state court system. A variety of specific functions are performed by the staff members of the court. The judge's job is to run the courtroom, hear arguments, interpret laws, assess evidence, and control how cases progress in their courtrooms. Judges are neutral. They are not allowed to provide counsel or preferential treatment to either side. Like a good referee in a sporting match, a judge's job is to make sure the rules are followed by both parties. Judges are also responsible for sentencing criminal defendants. The court clerk helps the judge in court and behind the scenes with scheduling, identifying who is in court, and other matters. The court clerk also researches legal questions for the judge. Court reporters record everything that is happening in the courtroom for the official record. Sometimes court reporters do this remotely from a different location. The defense attorney is the advocate for the person charged with a crime. If a defendant cannot afford to pay for an attorney, the government will provide one. This appointed attorney is called a public defender. The role of the attorney is to ensure that the defendant is heard and that his or her constitutional rights are upheld. The prosecutor argues the case on behalf of the government or the victim. A jury is a group of people who represent a cross-section of the community. They are summoned to listen to evidence and arguments in court and decide whether a defendant is found guilty or not guilty in a criminal case. Ideally, a jury is composed of people who represent a cross-section of the community. A judge helps the jury to understand legal principles and rules about evidence. Most cases are resolved before going to a trial with plea bargains. Plea bargains are negotiated deals between the prosecutor and defense attorney where all parties agree on an outcome. Typically, the prosecutor will allow defendants to plead guilty to a lesser offense in exchange for avoiding the expense and uncertainty of a trial. While everyone has the right to a trial, both the prosecution and the defense often have an interest in avoiding a lengthy trial. Most cases never make it to the trial stage. the vast majority of cases are resolved through deals negotiated between prosecutors and defendants. The outcome of these deals is that the defendant usually pleads guilty to a crime that is less serious than the original crime with which they were charged. Defendants have a right to a trial. They can refuse any offer to plead guilty. They can always assert their right to a fair trial and refuse any plea bargain. If all defendants asserted their right to a fair trial, however, the justice system would be overwhelmed with cases. Court monitoring offers a chance for members of the public to observe court and provide feedback to the courts. Monitoring the courts has been done by a variety of civic groups for more than 20 years as a way to find out what is going on in courts. One of the oldest monitoring groups, Watch, of Minnesota, was started in response to what some saw as extraordinarily light sentences for perpetrators of violence against women and children. Watch has provided feedback to the courts and advocated for stricter sentencing. Court monitoring has provided important feedback to the judicial system. Court monitoring is a good way for the public to get inside courtrooms and see how things work. You'll find that real courts differ sharply from what is shown on television. Those who attend court should expect to spend a significant amount of time waiting for something to happen. When nothing is happening in the courtroom, it often means that progress is being made behind the scenes, in a judge's chambers or elsewhere, to move the case closer to resolution. As a monitor, your job is to watch, think, and make notes about your observations. Don't limit yourself to the nuts and bolts of the trial. Everything going on in the courtroom is potentially interesting. Pay attention to all facets of the justice experience and record on the forms those things you found most interesting. While it may be easiest to comment on the judge's behavior when you're filling out your monitoring forms, feel free to also comment on and evaluate the behavior of other players in the courtroom. There is no right or wrong way to monitor court. We are interested in your observations and opinions. Please let us know exactly what you think, including both positive and negative feedback, as appropriate. Your opinions are valuable. You may feel reluctant to provide a ranking or feedback based on a short period of observation, but keep in mind that most people required to go to court are only there for a short period of time. Information about first impressions is useful. A member of the court staff may ask you why you are in court. They are probably trying to be helpful, assuming that you are in court as a participant in a trial and wanting to make sure that you are in the right place. You can tell them that you're just there to watch. The defendant, witnesses, or other people in the courtroom may wish to speak with you or wonder why you are there. If court is not in session, feel free to speak with them if you are interested. Alternately, you may tell them that you are not available to talk. When you've completed your session, return to the lobby with your completed forms. A representative will be there to take them and to answer any questions. If for any reason you are uncomfortable in court, feel free to leave at any time. Submit as much of the paperwork as you are able. The public is welcomed in most courtrooms. You have a right to observe court. You should dress comfortably but professionally. Avoid tight, revealing, or excessively casual clothing. Hats are not allowed, except in cases of religious observance. Be sure to turn your cell phone off. Remember that you will go through a metal detector. No weapons of any type are permitted, including small knives. Many thanks for completing this training and for volunteering for this study. Your work will help us better understand the courtroom experience. We hope that you will find the work interesting and rewarding.